In this lesson, we're going to go over strings. Very simple introduction. So go over to your Python interpreter. Again, if you're on Windows, to get there, go down to your Start menu, scroll down to Python. Click the down arrow, and you're looking for IDLE. If you're on a Mac, go to Applications, find your Python folder, and again, IDLE. It'll bring you here. Now, to understand what a string is, you have to understand what a character is. Now, a character is just a single character. It can be a letter, it can be a number, it can be a symbol. That's a character. A string is simply a string of characters. So, each individual letter is a character, but put together, it's a string of characters, if that makes sense. So to have a string in Python, you could try just to type it out, just like that. Python doesn't like that. You get your first error. This one's real ugly compared to our first one. We won't go over it. It's just know that Python does not like it. For a string, you got to put it in quotes. So that seemed to work. You can do single quotes as we did before, or double quotes. Doesn't matter. What you can't do is say a double quote and then a single quote. Python's not going to like it. And you can't start with a single quote, end with a double quote. Python does not like that either. Now, if you have, say, an apostrophe, which is very similar to a single quote inside of your string, you're going to have to make sure to do that right. And there's a couple different ways you can do it. The way I recommend is start with a double quote, then a single quote for the apostrophe, and end with a double quote. And that will work. Well, won't work if you start off with a single quote, put your apostrophe in there, and then try to end with a single quote. Python does not like that. So a string does not have to be just letters. If you put numbers inside of a string, it treats it as a string, not a number. Important to remember that. Again, you can do double quotes, put numbers in there, and you can start combining letters. Everything inside of here is simply a string. Python's not going to execute or think this is a number or think this is a comment, because in Python, hash symbol is a comment. So another way to handle an apostrophe is a forward slash. So we go back here. If you put a forward slash, then your apostrophe, backslash. That works. And that backslash is just telling Python, hey, this is not an ending quote, it's an apostrophe, and it'll execute as such. So a string, it can be very, very long. You can write an entire sentence. The man went to the store. That's going to work. As long as you abide by Python syntax rules, you have a beginning quote, an ending quote, it's going to work. So again, a string can be a very long sentence. It can be a word. It can even be a single character. That's fine. As long as you abide by the rules. Just think of this as the container that you put it in. And a string always has to have a beginning and an end. Now you can concatenate strings, and what that means is, let's say if you have a string here, another string there, Python's going to put those together. And as you can see, because you had no space here or here, there's no space there. So to accomplish a space is you actually have to put in a space. In Python, will not ignore that. That space is part of your string. So there you go. Again, it's not going to ignore that space inside of a string. And that is it. That is strings. Just remember, a character is a single letter, symbol, or number. A string is a string of characters. It has to have a beginning, has to have an end. And if you have quotes inside of quotes, make sure it's either a single quote inside of a double quote, or you have that backslash. So your first challenge here is just to simply play around with the program. Type out some sentences, type out some words with apostrophes, and see if you can get the hang of it. And I'll see you in the next lesson.